Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for attending the full council Andover Town Council meeting on Monday, the 7th of December. So we'll get straight onto it, just scrolling down. Item 1, apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies for absence?
No, I haven't received any.
Okay. Declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest from anyone on items on the agenda? You can always declare it when that item comes up anyway. Okay, minutes of the last meeting held on the 21st of October and the extraordinary council meeting held on the 5th of November are attached as Appendix A. As usual, I'll sign these and post them in. So any comments on
point
those?
of order? The minutes for the meeting of March are also up for discussion.
No.
Yes.
No, they're not.
Yes, they were.
Item 3 clearly says the 21st of October and the 5th of November.
Well, you've got an old version of the agenda.
Well, I've got the amended one.
Well, I have the version with the March minutes in it. Can Tracy illuminate us as to why the minutes of a meeting that was held over 6 months ago disappeared?
Tracy, can you just confirm that I've got the correct version here?
The latest version that I received had the minutes of the 21st of October and the 5th of November.
Thank you.
So why have the minutes from March disappeared from the agenda?
The agenda that I have has the 13th of March minutes on.
Have you got the latest
one I received? I haven't received anything else since then.
No, there was an amended one that was sent out. Does everyone have the amended version of the minutes?
No.
No.
The agenda, you mean?
So that was sent
No, I don't have
out
it either.
on the 2nd of December at 12:34 p.m.
But
Revised full council agenda.
Should these
Please,
minutes not be included anyway because they haven't been signed off from March?
It's not on the agenda, so
it's on my agenda.
It's on my agenda.
Well, you haven't got the amended version.
But why have minutes from March disappeared? You promised us at the last meeting that they would be discussed.
I didn't. Well,
yes,
no,
you did. I raised them at the last meeting.
Oh, it's not on the agenda. So.
But they're on the agenda I was sent.
So does anyone have any comments on Appendix A?
Yes. The minutes are missing that were in the version that was sent to me.
Well,
why can this council not produce minutes for a meeting held in March?
Right. First of all, it's not on the agenda, so we will not be talking about it, and that's the end of it.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to talk to the 14th of October.
Yep.
No,
21st, you mean?
21st of October. They are not an accurate reflection of the minutes, and I will.
Why is that?
They contain far more information that was actually discussed, and therefore I will be voting against the minute.
Okay. Anyone else?
I agree with Councillor David Cool. There's too much information in there that wasn't actually spoken at the last meeting.
Anyone else?
Yes, well, that actually implies that the information is wrong. If something's in...
Well, you can choose to vote against it or not. It's up to you.
No. The minutes have to be a correct reflection. The meeting was recorded, so they should reflect what was said at the meeting.
Well, then vote against it.
In there that wasn't there.
Christopher, stop talking, for God's sake. Have some decorum.
Sorry, can I come in here, please? Can members please ask to speak through the chair one at a time, because I can't control the meeting if everybody's talking over each other. If I can just advise that the minutes of the meeting should be a true record of what was said at that meeting. Minutes shouldn't be a verbatim of all what was said. It should just be reporting the resolutions that were made at that meeting, but I believe that some previous minutes haven't. So if members aren't happy with the minutes, then they can ask for those minutes to be deferred. Any minutes that are missing, we are having another meeting next week. I'm about to raise another agenda for next week, and we can bring all outstanding minutes to that meeting.
Okay, Tracy, so would we need to do a motion to
supposed-
defer the minutes?
You're supposed to talk through the chair, Rebecca.
Okay, am I allowed to speak?
Yes,
Shall I speak to you or shall I speak to Tracy?
you need to speak to me.
Okay, so can you ask Tracy if we should do a motion to defer the minutes?
Well, we don't have to. We can just move on.
Oh, can you ask Tracy that though? Or
Yeah.
you won't ask?
Tracy?
Are you refusing to ask Tracy that, or?
Yeah, you need to have a vote if members are wishing to defer the minutes of the meeting. So if they don't want to sign them off, then we can have a vote that those minutes are deferred, and then we'll bring them along to the next meeting.
Can I make a suggestion? It's on the agenda. So my suggestion is, if people don't want to vote these minutes through, then members should vote against them. Simple as that. You know, the EGM that's going to be next week is going to be called by me, and I'm perfectly happy to put it on the agenda again. But I think considering this corrected agenda, revised agenda, was actually put on the website, there's been plenty of opportunity for people to get this anyway. So I think we just need to move on, because we're still on item 3. And this really shouldn't be taking up this much time. If people have got comments to make on the agenda, they could have done so before now.
May I speak, please? May I say something?
Go for it.
The town clerk has just said that the minutes are not verbatim, but the item in question was actually verbatim, because I believe that you as the mayor...
That's not really relevant. Look, you can vote against it, Barbara.
No, can I just finish what I'm saying?
Really?
The item in question was verbatim, because it was a report that you submitted to be added verbatim, and it's in that report that additional information has been added that wasn't actually spoken.
Well, then vote against it.
Yeah,
Is that simple?
I know that. I'm just
You
trying to highlight.
You said it again.
Sorry,
Right.
I'm just trying to highlight it to other councillors.
Yeah, well, you've just done that for a second time. Barbara, would you like to say something? You haven't talked yet.
Fine.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Can I suggest, if councillors feel that these are not correct records, that actually it is deferred to the next meeting, and that councillors email to say what they feel is incorrect, so that the officers who have written the minutes can check whether that is the correct or not. So
Thank you, Barbara.
And we go to defer
Barbara,
it to vote next meeting.
I'll take that as a procedural motion, which you're proposing, and I'll second it. So is that okay, Barbara?
That's fine with me.
Yep. Okay, so procedural motion has been asked for and seconded by me to defer item 3 to the EGM, which will be hopefully on the 15th. Are we happy to do a roll call on the vote?
Is this just
Tracy?
for the 1 set of minutes? Is this just for the 1 set of minutes, or for both sets?
No, this is for item 3 to be deferred and to next week.
Okay. So to defer is Councillor Rolls.
Sorry? Oh, you're asking for my vote. Okay. Well, I'm voting for it.
Is Councillor Banville at this meeting? I can't see her.
No.
Councillor Mayer.
Yes, for deferring.
Councillor Long.
4.
Councillor Treadwell.
4.
Councillor Decool.
4.
Councillor Mrs. Cool.
4.
Councillor Gregory.
4.
Councillor Sangster.
4.
Councillor Asamoah.
4.
Councillor Ecclestone.
4.
And Councillor Hughes.
4.
Carried.
Okay. So, Tracy, that's motion carried then unanimously, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's deferred. So item 4, Town Mayor's announcements. Just to say that I think the Christmas lights have been very well received in the town, and I was there late until, I don't know, 11:30, 12 o'clock when they were putting them up. And the guys that did the putting up of the lights were extremely efficient and overcame a number of issues which cropped up when they were doing it very well. And I should probably also say there's a couple of them which aren't working, and I've responded to people on one of the spotteds in Andover to say that they will be fixed this week. So we're just arranging for a cherry picker and the team to come back in and work out what's wrong with them and fix them. So that is about it, really. Public participation. If members of the public would like to speak, would you like to put it in the chat window? Or it's probably the easiest way. I know Nigel's raised his hand, so we'll put Nigel on the list anyway.
Yeah,
I think you're permanently on the list, aren't you,
now.
Nigel? Oh,
Bring
we're
your
getting,
phone, Barbara.
Turned it up.
we're getting a bit of feedback now. Would any other members of the public like to speak?
Me. Councillor Eccleston is speaking as a member of the public.
Well, I think you're actually a member of the council, to be fair. But
And I'm a member of the public.
Tracy?
Yeah, councillors can raise questions during public question time, yes.
Right.
First.
Is that it? No other members of the public? Right. Nigel, do you want to go first?
Yes, please. Thank you. I've got two questions and a statement that I wish to make, please. Can you give me the cost of printing agendas and posting them out to councillors per year? Be interesting to see how much you're spending on this item. The other one, there was at a PR meeting, there was talk of an allowance and iPads being paid, given to councillors. Can you tell me when this will come to full council to be voted on? Can I go to my statement before you answer the questions, or do you want to answer the questions first?
Oh, do the questions first, Nigel. So the first one was about the iPads.
The allowances and iPads that were mentioned in P&R.
Well, I would imagine. I mean, we're now in December. We're obviously having an EGM next week, but that leaves the meeting on the 26th of January before we have to agree our budget and our precept for next year, next financial year. So I would imagine it would have to come forward with all the other budget proposals on the, I think it's the 26th of January.
And my second question, the cost of printing agendas and posting them out to councillors per year. Can you find that out and either put it on the site or send it to me as a written report, please?
Yeah, if you're happy with that, that's fine. You making a note of that, Tracy? Yeah.
And I think you've already got my address or email, and I'm giving you full permission here to post it to me. So you comply with GPDR, okay?
Thank you.
I want to make a statement. What tangible benefits has the Andover Town made to Andover since the last election, except the Christmas lights and run the allotments at a loss? The Andover Town Council was formed in 2010. No other councils felt the need for expenses in that time, except the Andover Independent Party councillors. Shame on them all. The motion for allowances and iPads is an embarrassment and disgraceful. You all knew what you were getting into by standing for election. A quote on social media backed by Councillor Cole saying that if you pay an allowance, you'll get a better standard of councillors. All I can say is I'm looking forward to the next elections to get rid of some councillors. There was no support from Andover residents that either tax money or the precept should be spent on this way. You better not increase the precept to pay for this. The Andover independent councillors of Mayor Eccleston and the Calls are like parasites and leeches. It's time that they crawl back under the rock that they came from.
Sorry, you shouldn't be making comments like that.
Well, I did.
Yeah, I know you did, but can you please refrain from making comments like that, please?
Public participation.
Well,
Right.
then I'm afraid if you make comments like that, we'll have to remove you.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah. consider yourself told off, Nigel. Right, Councillor Ecclestone.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rolls. As a representative for the collective 7,000 people who live in Millway Ward, after having seen the Mayor's grandstanding on the issue of a grievance, and then having called a special meeting to set up a grievance policy, can he tell the voters of Andover Millway Ward why the grievance panel has been disbanded? Thank you.
Sorry, can I come in here, please?
Yeah, sure, Tracy.
I'm afraid that's confidential information at the moment. We can't say why that is.
Okay. Right then, so that's public participation. Item 6, reports from borough and county councillors. Do we have any borough and county councillors who'd like to update us on their many activities?
Chairman, I've just sorry, I had to rush out. I've been duped. I've been fraud on my card, so cash card. Anyway, yeah, there's just a few things to talk about. Was that I know you don't have the Lenson schemes, but that is going to go ahead for 2020-21, and the other thing that's happening is that Hampshire County Council is going to support children through the Christmas holiday and up to Easter with food vouchers, so they can go off and get the vouchers, and they can then take them to any shops they like to buy their food. And there's a list of criteria, obviously, like everything else, but I will send it to the parish clerk, and I'd be quite kind of, there's a parish clerk who send them out to the councillors for me. And I think that's about all, really. Sorry, I'm a bit of fluss at the moment. Okay, but I will send any other information I have to you at a later date. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm not sure which order they came in, but I've got someone called iPad, I've got Chris Donnelly, and I've got Nick Matthews who would like to speak. So I'm going to go with iPad first, whoever you are. Hello, iPad.
That's
me,
hello,
Iris. You all right?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and councillors, and obviously the residents of Andover. I have a few things that I can bring up that I've been doing. By Liddell's, the side footpath there was a sinking drain, which has been mended, which was very, very dangerous. The marking on New Street roundabout by Sainsbury's, Tesco's, that has been done. Pilgrim's Way, 2 trees removed around the property, which was causing a lot of flooding. This has been a long time going issue, but we have got there at the end. I'm just saying it's about 4 or 5 years this has been going on. A sunken drain in Vigo Road has also been mended. In Vigo, by Vigo School, marking white lines leading into London Road, also by the junctions around the area, by the school, marking by the side of the school for parking has been done, which has always been very dangerous. As they come down that road, people are going into the parking bit and thinking that's part of the road. A Vigo school notice has been moved from the side of the school gate up to the top, which obviously caused a lot of problems. Wasn't noticed that there was a school, they were coming up to a school. Leaf clearing, I've been doing as much as I can, different areas. So obviously they have been busy doing that. Chantry Centre worked with Nick Matthews to do with Remembrance Sunday, supported small businesses. And I think that's all I've got to say. But there are different areas that I've been working on, but I think that's enough. Okay. Thank you.
Very much, Iris. So
that's okay.
I don't know where he's gone now. Chris Donnelly. Oh, there you are. Yep.
Hello.
Go for it.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of bits of good news. First is pretty hot off the press, is that the road resurfacing at Picket 20 Way, which I know that Joanne's brought up in the past, has restarted. They had run out of bricks, but they've got a new supplier now. So hopefully that will be done by mid-January, and that will then trigger the co-op opening in Picket 20 as well. My apologies, Joanne, for not sending that over. I've just heard myself. The second bit of good news is that we've got agreement from Persimmon Homes to install a disabled accessible swing in one of the parks up at Picket 20. So we're just having a look at that. We're going to try and involve the community a little bit to see what kind of design and location would be appropriate. So just two little bits of updates for you there. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Chris. Councillor Matthews.
Mr. Mayor, good evening. Good evening, all town
Hi,
councillors. Hi. So, yeah, just a number of things. Obviously, I do give a sort of monthly Nick flick, which informs most people about what's going on, but just a bit more concise for this evening. Just a couple of highlights. So we had a Christmas tree switch on Saturday evening for the residents of Ravenna Lodge, which was a lovely and poignant event. I'm delighted that a beautiful 10-foot Norwegian spruce tree donated by Vigo Nurseries, Chris Blake, which we're incredibly grateful for. And so we decorated, planted and put the lights on of that, socially distanced, of course, but that was lovely and well received by those residents up there. Damage control around developments. I'm conscious this time of year. It really does annoy residents, and quite rightly so. The mud that accumulates with work traffic and lorries and so on. We've now got damage control literally driving around all the time, constantly, all day now, whilst those work vehicles are travelling around. So that's a great improvement on last year, when we struggled to get one or two just per day. So that they now constantly drive around, which is great. The lighting and pathways around Cricketers and Romans Way particularly has been a great bone of contention for a significant amount of time, and it's something that I've taken on. We now, straight after Christmas, the first week of January, we have a heads of sheds, I think we used to call them, a meeting in those estates to finally get that cracked, and I'm really looking forward to that. It's been a long time coming. And the last two, very briefly, the new post box that we managed to get installed up at the Augusta Park Community Centre. It's been there, it looks great, it's the right colour, the right location, but it's not yet active. And quite rightly, the residents are wondering why. So the latest on that as of this morning is that it should be active before Christmas. So we're looking at the next week or two, fingers crossed. And the very final thing is, again, a sincere thanks to our Co-op South, conscious that we're losing one of our Co-op stores on Cholton Road, much to the displeasure of the residents. But the food that the Co-op South have donated has been absolutely extraordinary in Andover this year, and so much so that the food banks that me and a couple of my fellow councillors were helping with for the APCA and the YMCA has been extraordinary, and I can't thank. We are talking thousands and thousands of pounds worth, so not just a couple of crates here and there. And I think that needs to be recognised by everybody and commended to them. And that's it, Mr. Mayor, for me. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Nick. Right, so does that cover everyone? Are there any other borough or county councillors here who would like to speak? It's difficult seeing who's here with things moving around the screen. But I assume you've all had a chance to say whether you want to speak now. So item 7, questions from town councillors to borough and county councillors. Luigi, your hand was up first, I think. If you want to go first.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I've got a question for my colleague, Zilia Brooks. And what I would like to understand, if I may, what the Hampshire County Council policy is on maintaining trees and grass verges on their property. I'm getting quite a lot of casework along this area, and from what I can gather, the standard of maintenance is basically non-existent, and the county council seems to set the bar very, very high before they actually do anything at all, virtually at the stage of imminent disaster. Now, what I would like to know is, are the county council encouraging a policy of do-it-yourself amongst the taxpayers of Andover, or what are they doing? Thanks very much.
Well, yes, I had quite a few of these. I had the one along Newbury Road, leading from the roundabout right up to the Enham Arch, and I've managed to get all that area cut back. But Hampshire County Council has this policy where they won't cut branches which hang over onto people's gardens. They say that the residents have the right to trim the branches themselves, but the problem is that costs an awful lot of money, and I have tried really hard trying to get the officers to look into the situation. A very stressful situation, and that's the same with the place in the Upper Drove. I've had problems with a place there where the tree on the verge is entwined entwined with the next door neighbours' trees, and now there's a nice big archway going across the pavement, which is not very good, obviously. So I've been working on that, and I've been working hard up on Gallagher's Mead, trying to get all the bushes cut back and the branches cut away from street lights, because obviously now the darker nights are here. People are not using those little paths going down to their homes and back out into the Salisbury Road and Wayhill Road. And I have been keep trying. And if you send me those concerns that you have, I'm sure I can do my best, and I will keep you informed what the outcomes are. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lydia.
Thank you. Councillor David Cole, then Barbara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One for Councillor Brooks, to do with the matter of libraries. I understand the library is having a reduced service, and I ask if that's correct. And if it is correct, would Hampshire County Council consider approaching the Town Council to assist in restoring its services to the full amount? I'm not saying the council will agree to it, but would they consider approaching it?
I think they would like all support, obviously, to keep the libraries open longer. But Andover hasn't lost that many hours compared to other boroughs and counties. I can't get on top of my head what it is at the moment in Andover, but I think they cut out the Sunday times, but it's opened. It's normal time from Monday till Friday, and Saturday was a different time anyway. And I think what they've done is close on the Sunday, but I could double check that. And I'm sure if the Town Council could help in any way, I'm sure Hampshire County Council would like to hear their ideas. And Councillor Woodward, he's the portfolio holder for libraries and other things like that, and parks. So yes, if you want to talk to him or email him, I'm sure he would be happy to talk to you. Thank you.
You're muted, Richard.
Barbara, over to you. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Can I just ask Councillor Anderson, could she confirm about the New Street roundabout? You said that Hampshire County Council have redone the markings. Have they just redone the markings, or have they added the marking to make it absolutely clear which lane to be in when you go round the roundabout to get into New Street without being cut up? You're muted, Iris.
What they did was they marked the roundabout so people didn't get cut up when they were going into Sainsbury's and around that area, and then round by where the petrol station is and all around there. They only, what it was is I was very lucky to have that done. They actually told me they don't do the marking again until next April. But I told them that people were being cut up round that roundabout and it was very, very dangerous. The same as Vigo Road. I don't know why they've only got a limited budget on marketing, but they said that nothing was going to get done till April. And I had quite a shock when I went down there and saw that. So if you go round, you'll be able to have a look and just see where they've marked it.
Yeah, it's the marking on the actual Tesco roundabout, not New.
Yeah, and I did mention about that because I walked down with one of the officers down there and showed them. And I did mention that. And I was really pushing to get more done, but, you know, they just weren't having it, you know, because of the amount of budgeting they had.
Thank you. I'll talk to you about the Tesco roundabout.
Okay, then. All right, that's lovely. I'll go down there and take more pictures. Thank you.
Thanks, Doris.
That's okay.
Any other questions from town councillors to borough or county councillors? I'll take that as a no. Okay, so item 8 then, motions from councillors. We have received a special motion proposed by Councillor Jekyll, seconded by Councillor N. Ashamoa, in accordance with Standing Orders Section 31B. Councillor Deacall is the third proposer. Can I just check that you're all still in agreement with that?
Yes, Mr.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And the surname is Asamoah, not Asamoah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Nicholas. Sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. Thank you.
So the motion reads that individual member votes on resolutions and motions be recorded for all council and committee meetings and be made publicly available on the council's website, and that standing orders be amended accordingly. So Tracy, is this well formed? Presumably it is.
Yes, there is a legislation that before any motion, councillors can request that the votes are recorded. My only suggestion is that if you do it on every single resolution, it's going to expand your minutes by reams of paper or by pages if you have it on every resolution. But I mean, it's up to members if they wish to do that.
Okay, thanks, Tracy. So do we wish to debate this? Would anyone like to talk to this? I think Councillor Hughes was first, so and then Councillor Jekyll.
Mr. Mayor, the proposer should be given the choice to go first.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Thank you.
It's not. I mean, I don't know whether the third proposer gets to speak as well. I don't think we've had a special motion before, so go for it.
Okay, thank you. Well, I propose this motion because I believe that we need more transparency for the community, really, in particular, as I want councillors to be held accountable for the way they vote. At Parliament, we can all see how MPs vote through the Hansard Parliament website, theyworkforyou.com. For instance, we can see how Kit Malthouse votes, and he voted against the fox hunting ban. He voted against putting measures in place for climate change, and more importantly for us as a town, he voted against free school meals, which affects many people and families who are in poverty. And is this his true vote, or has he been whipped into making this vote? Has he been whipped into the party line? We know that happens at TDBC with the, well, it appears, I should say, to be happening at TDBC with the two major parties. But obviously, with us as the Andover Independence Party, we're free to vote how we want. We're not whipped into any party line. So I feel that we vote with our conscience rather than being whipped into line. So I do think it's important that councillors' votes are recorded and that the public get to see how their councillor voted. I've also noticed that many councillors at ATC either abstain quite a lot on a regular basis, which makes them look ill-informed, or they're voting for or against a motion because of a dislike for the person proposing it or for the party proposing it. And in my opinion, this needs to stop. We need to vote with our heart, with our conscience, for the people that we're representing. And I just think having it recorded and publicised will encourage more consensual, inclusive teamwork and much more discerning votes. So that's my opinion on it. Thank you.
Okay. Just before we move on, I'd just like to say that Kit Malthouse is a member of Parliament, but he is not on the Andover Town Council, just for the purposes of clarity. Now, Jay, no, sorry, not Jay. I saw your hand go up, Jason. Just 1 second. Nicholas, do you want to speak at the end?
Yes, I'll speak now.
Oh, you want to speak now? That's cool.
Yes,
go for it.
So obviously, everything that Joe said, I totally agree. Being a new councillor, I think it's important that everything we decide as a town council, that the public are aware of, and I think transparency is key. And obviously, going around speaking to some of the local residents, you know, they distrust the town council big time. And I think this will work towards building good relationship with the residents and also the transparency that will come across, which I think a lot of people will benefit from. And just give people the option, really, just to have that option to say, right, this is how my town councillor voted and this is how it impacted my life. Hence why I'm for this motion. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So Councillor Hughes, then Councillor Sangster, then Councillor David Cole.
I'm the third proposer, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to go third.
Do all three people get to speak, Tracy? I don't know. Oh, go for it. Just do your bit, David.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I fully support what Councillor Joe Cole and Councillor Asamoah have said. There is a disconnect between residents and this town council. Not only this town council, but also the borough council. And as a borough councillor, I have submitted a similar motion, which will be considered in January 2021. And I hope the borough councillors all vote in favour of this motion to give better transparency at the borough council. But referring back to the town council, we need to connect with our residents. We want them to talk to us, to air their concerns, and we want them to read the agendas and the minutes and encourage us to represent them in a more informed way. And this will enable that to happen. You know, we need greater public engagement, public consultation, and I believe this council has the opportunity now moving forward to achieve all these things and then deliver exactly what the people are asking for. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So I think Councillor Hughes is next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was quite surprised to see this motion here, particularly as only at the last meeting we set up a standing orders review panel with Councillor Cole, Councillor Chris Eccleston, myself, being there to review all the standing orders and do a lot of work there. I mean, this could be a recommendation to that panel, but it seems to be we want to tie the hands of the panel straight away. I also very much take on board what our local purpose is at the length of our minutes. Somebody else's, that's better. Length of the minutes, because literally there'll be a recording for every single vote and it'll all be listed there. But what I find even more surprising is that, of course, there is actually no need for this motion. People have only got to read our standing orders to see what's there. Item 1, Standing Order Section S, says, unless standing orders provide, otherwise, voting on a question shall be by a show of hands. At the request of a councillor, one councillor, the voting on any question shall be recorded so as to show whether each councillor present and voting gave his vote for or against that question. Such a request shall be made before moving on to the next item of business on the agenda. Now, in our minutes, if people are standing orders, if you look at them, there's a little traffic light system on the edge. You know, red, amber, green. And red stands for full council, amber stands for principal committees, and the green is the subcommittees. So what this motion tries to achieve is already in our standing orders. And the AIP councillors have had all their time on this council, if they're really, really concerned with transparency, just to say at every vote, please can it be recorded? I don't understand why they haven't. If they're so concerned for it, if they're so up for this, why haven't they asked for this to be recorded before? Why are they wasting this council's time bringing a motion that does not really required, because it's covered under our standing orders anyway? I shall abstain because I don't think the motion's needed, and because I'm abstaining, I mean, I don't mind my vote being recorded, but I'm not going to vote for something that I don't think's needed, because it's not needed. It is there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Jason, you're next, then Rebecca.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to make a statement, really. Just playing devil's advocate here, really. I agree in principle and the sentiment behind the motion. My only concern would be it would have the opposite effect that what you're going for, in terms of people knowing how people vote tends to put pressure on how people go ahead and then do vote. If you're under pressure to vote a certain way because only that group want you to vote in that way. So that is a little bit of a concern to me. I definitely agree. We need better transparency and earning the trust of the public, as that's definitely taken a hit in recent times. But again, people knowing how people vote, it just they're never going to really truly vote how they want to, because they always have that inkling of, oh, how are people going to interpret me, or how, rather than voting with how they want to vote. So there is that concern. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sorry, the dog's barking in the background, so I might have to go and sort the dog out in a second. I think Rebecca, I think Christopher wants to speak, and David wants to speak again, but let's just cover people who haven't spoken yet. Barbara wants to speak as well. So Rebecca, Christopher, then Barbara.
Okay, I just wanted to add to Robin Hughes, I'm on the standing orders as well. I thought about if we make it automatic, we won't have to do motions at meetings. So we won't have to do a motion every time we want it to be recorded. And I do disagree with Jason Sangster, and I don't know if it is because I come from America where we have more transparency. But I believe that if a councillor doesn't want to be held accountable for how they vote, or they feel pressured from somebody else to vote a certain way, maybe they shouldn't be a councillor, because they should work on their assertiveness skills. I was always taught that you should be held accountable for your actions. And I can't imagine why somebody wouldn't want to be held accountable for how they vote, and they would want to hide it, because that would look bad to me. I don't know if that's a cultural thing. And I don't know, I always thought Robin Hughes and the Liberal Democrats Party was for transparency. So I'm kind of surprised that he wouldn't, that he's abstaining. Maybe I have the wrong view of the Liberal Democrats Party. I'm not sure. And that's really all I have to say. I mean, I know that we've had councillors in the past that have said what a mess.
Explanation.
I'm sorry. I think you have to wait to speak. Are you interrupting me, or?
Sorry. Carry on. I'll come back. I'll come back to you, Robin.
Thank you. Standing orders request.
Sorry, or what? Sorry.
Point of personal explanation. My name's been mentioned in a couple of ways, which I would like to respond to. I was accused of being against transparency. So nothing I've said here should indicate I'm against transparency. So I'd rather the Councillor Rebecca Mayer withdrew that accusation, please.
Okay, over to you, Rebecca.
So were you doing a point of order? I'm very confused right now. I didn't know.
Yeah,
Are you mannerupting or mansplaining? I'm confused.
No. What you kind of accused him of not being
Oh,
anti-transparency.
well, I'm kind of accusing him. Well, I am actually. He isn't being very transparent. He's said about how he doesn't like that we're having to that we have to keep voting on meeting
Point of
time.
order, Mr. Chairman. I
Excuse
suggest
me.
these members should no longer be heard because
Excuse
they're
me.
carrying
Are
on.
you mannerupting me again?
I'm raising the point of order again.
Are you asking for a procedural motion?
That the member no longer be heard because I've had 2 accusations made against me, which isn't in the spirit of any council meeting.
Okay. In which case we need a seconder.
I'm happy to second.
Okay. So we've had a procedural motion to not hear from the member anymore. So therefore we've got a proposer and a seconder. Tracy, would you like to do roll call?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to debate this motion.
Oh, it's a procedural motion.
You are allowed to debate procedural motions, Mr. Mayor.
Do we need to debate it? Tracy?
I think
Hello?
hello. I think you should let Councillor Cool just see what he has to say against this.
Okay. Go for it, David.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think there was a slight misunderstanding going on there in that it was not clear when Councillor Hughes first interrupted Councillor Meyer that it was a point of order. I'm sure if Councillor Meyer had heard those words, she would have stopped speaking and waited for the Mayor to invite Councillor Hughes to speak his point of order, and referring to the appropriate standing order section and number in which he was raising that point of order. Had that been done clearly, then I'm sure Councillor Meyer would not have reacted the way she had done, and that the situation was further aggravated because that hadn't been clearly explained. So I will be voting against this procedural motion. Thank you.
Okay. Can we go to a vote? Jason, did you want to talk?
Yeah, I agree. Everyone should have the right to say something. I mean, we shouldn't attack other people's opinions just because we don't agree with them. That's the problem with politics across the world at the moment. You know, everyone has a right to say how they feel. And I think, you know, this is the forum and debate to do it.
Okay. Anyone else? Rebecca?
I was just confused about how, I don't know if you thought that I was attacking someone, but if you're holding somebody accountable for their actions and how they vote, I didn't think that I was attacking. I mean, that might be in England where it's normally passive aggressive, but I come from a direct society.
Right. So let me be clear. So you did actually say that he was against transparency.
Yeah.
So,
yes, yes,
that's
I did.
not cool. That's
no,
not cool.
I didn't even make the vote. I was just saying I'm playing devil's advocate. This is my opinion. I haven't made a vote yet. You know.
Oh no, not you, Jason. Sorry, Councillor Hughes did actually say, you know, Councillor Mayer has accused me of being anti-transparency.
I don't know how it would be.
I don't think that's appropriate, really.
Okay. I would say then that any councillor that would have voted against this and would not want to be held accountable for how they vote and would not want to make it public would be against transparency. I cannot imagine why anybody would want to keep their vote a secret. If you want to keep your vote a secret, something is wrong. I don't understand. That's all I gotta say. If you can't be held accountable for your convictions, maybe you shouldn't be a councillor. That's what I have to say.
Right. That's Tracy.
And I was just going to suggest that we move to the original vote now, the original motion, and vote on that.
Councillor Hughes, are you happy with that correction?
I'm waiting for an apology for being accused of being anti-transparent. That was never
Rebecca,
said by me. It was not.
Rebecca?
It was mentioned actually twice. It was repeated.
Yep. Okay, so Rebecca, are you willing to apologise?
Not wanting to have your vote public would be an indication that you are anti-transparent. So I will not apologize for actions that support for what I said.
Okay, Barbara. You're on mute, Barbara. Barbara, you're on mute.
Sorry. I did have my hand up to speak to the original motion. So before we go to vote on the original motion, I would like to speak.
Okay, right. So let's go. Are we willing to go back to the original motion now? Right. So Barbara wants to speak. Christopher wants to speak. David Treadwell wants to speak. So Barbara, Christopher, and David.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm unsure how this recorded vote is going to be shown on the website. Is it going to be recorded and shown within the minutes? At the moment, when we have Zoom meetings, there is a roll call on every single vote rather than just a raise of hands, in which case it is recorded and it will be then showing in the minutes. If it is going to be shown in some other way, I'd like to know how. I took offence at Councillor Joanne Poole's comment that there are councillors who are voting for or against, depending on who brings motions. I take offence at that councillors, are voting just because they've got something against the person who proposes it. And I don't think any councillor, or I would hope there is no councillor on this council who would ever vote just because they had a grievance against another councillor who had brought a motion. And I take offence that Joanne Poole said that. But at the moment, recorded votes are done because we are in Zoom and can be shown in the minutes quite easily. So I feel that this motion is unnecessary. We are open and transparent because at every single motion, every single councillor is asked how they are voting, and that is being transparent.
Okay, so let's go on to Christopher.
Thank you. I would agree heartily with Councillor Meyer that one cannot be against this motion and yet still maintain that one is for transparency. But I digress from my actual subject, which was that a recent instance at TVBC, we saw a lot of councillors there who were whipped to support the Shepherd Spring car park continuing with a charge. And then when I went onto social media and did nothing more than list the councillors and how they voted, some councillors seem to think that it was most unfortunate that their name should be attached to having voted against the interests of the voters of Andover, the parking users, and the
order, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Councillor Eccleston is quoting TVBC. We are not TVBC.
I'm talking about the subject. Pardon me.
No, I'm sorry.
Pardon me. I'm talking about an example.
Barbara, hang on a sec. Carry on, Christopher.
Thank you. And so the numbers were out there. Unfortunately, TVBC had not published them. And so I did. And so people knew, and people could say, well, good on them or not. But they can make up their own mind about that. And on Councillor Long's point about the recorded votes, I do, looking at the minutes at the moment, see that the recorded votes are there. But Zoom meetings will not last forever. And when we go back to the other style of doing the meetings, then we won't be having the roll calls, but we should be recording the votes. And the numbers should be up there, not only just for people to wade through long minutes embedded within past agendas, they should be up there in perpetuity as to who has voted for what. You've got to stand by what you voted for. Thank you.
Okay, wait, just 1 second. I think it was Dave Treadwell next. Dave? I'm going to stick to people who haven't spoken yet first, by the way. So, Dave?
Yeah, Chris just covered one good point, that it's quite handy to have a very quick reference rather than wading through the entire minutes of an agenda. One thing I just wanted to check, as Robin said, if an individual wanted a vote recorded at a meeting, would we have to all go around and vote on it, or could they just ask?
No, so you don't actually have a vote to have a recorded vote. One member puts up their hand, or if in the case of us being in a Zoom meeting, asks for a vote to be recorded, and the vote for that substantive motion is recorded so that the vote of every councillor, yay, nay, or abstain, or no vote, as can be the case, is recorded in the minutes. Now, the definition, I think Tracy will back me up on this, of a recorded vote is that it is actually duly noted in the minutes. Is that correct, Tracy? So the implication of this would mean that if you're asking for a recorded vote, that those votes are then added to the minutes for every item.
Mr. Chair, I request a recorded vote.
Thank you.
Is that sorry, David? Is that Dave? Does that?
Yeah, that covered it, Richard. Thank you.
Yeah. Right. So, does anyone else want to speak who hasn't spoken? I'm sorry, there's a lot of people in the room, and I'm struggling to see where all the councillors are with all these things on the screen. Luigi?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, like Councillor Hughes, I don't really understand why we've got this. From what our colleagues in the Andover Independent seem to hint, is that they're fed up with the Conservatives, as many other people may well be, over the Shepherd Spring vote. Okay, but that's TVBC. We're talking here about the Andover Town Council. So if they want to have it, I'll be abstaining. There is no such thing as lack of transparency as far as Liberal Democrats are concerned, and I'm a bit irritated by this use of of secret votes and stuff like that. My ballot, when I go into vote, to vote in the general election and local election, is secret. Okay. We also have votes within the council, which are confidential for very very good reasons. Okay. So this thing that every single vote's got to be clear and so on and so forth. I've certainly used the the ability to call for recorded votes on a fairly regular basis, but do we really want to hamstring by providing additional forests of to be cut down, to provide the trees, to provide the paper, to send huge 90, 100-page things to various councillors? I just don't know. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Luigi. So I think that's everyone who's spoken at least once, apart from me. I'll just say our standing orders, and do actually say that at any point a single councillor can call for a recorded vote. So I also, there are three things actually I would say. So first of all, there already is a mechanism for this to happen anyway. The second, well, actually there's four things. The second thing is, I think it would make the minutes unbelievably long. The third thing is, this is an extra burden on time and resources. And finally, or maybe that's five, I can't remember now. Finally, there's another item on the agenda to put the recordings of all these meetings on the website, so people can, just go in and actually see what happened in the meeting. So I just I'm sort of a bit baffled as to why we really need to do this, to be honest. So I don't know. I suppose I'll be voting against it. because not because I'm anti-transparency, but because we can already do it. All people have got to do is put their hand up. So, you know, and I don't think that's a particularly onerous thing to have to do. So that's all I've got to say on the matter. Now, some other people wanted to speak again. David Cole, you wanted to come back, and Joanne Cole and Rebecca Mayer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just exercising my right of reply. Compulsory recording will eliminate the need for referring to standing orders every time somebody wants a recorded vote. It just makes it standard practice. It's a simplification of the process in council. Recording them in the minutes, we already do via Zoom. It takes between 3 to 4 lines on the printed minutes. So, and it could actually be squashed into 2 lines or 3 lines. But the excessive paperwork that Councillor Hughes and Councillor Rigori keep insisting on is non-existent. At the moment, we record every vote via Zoom. Interestingly, Test Valley Borough Council records every vote by Zoom, and it is published. Whether Test Valley Borough Council will continue that process after Zoom their team system is closed down, who knows? Past the motion that the Andover Independence Party has submitted at borough level. How will it appear on the website? Councillor Long asked. Councillor Long is a member of the website design team, and as she knows, we will be looking at how we refresh the website. So the team that Councillor Long is involved in, Councillor Sangster, Councillor Mayer, Councillor Joe Cool, and myself, will be looking at how we present it on the website. So Councillor Long will be very influential on how it appears.
Sorry, David, I've just got to say, as I clarified with Tracy, these votes will have to be in the minutes. That is the definition of a recorded vote. Yes. So they will have to be in the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and they currently are. I'll pick up a point on free parking that Councillor Ecclestone referred to. The town centre car park George Yard has been packed this week since the free parking was announced and lockdown was lifted. Had the Borough Council voted for it at Shepherd Spring Lane, I have no doubt that would have been packed as well. So quite clearly, it is important for people to understand how their councillors vote. As to the standing order review that Councillor Hughes referred to, that is an ongoing time frame. This is something that if we vote and approve, the design team can start work on and get it implemented on the website refresh. So yes, the standing order team will review it. I suspect that'll take 3 months. However, within that 3 months, this could be up and running on our new Andover Town Council website. So I'm encouraging people to vote for this, and I'm sure that the design team will work furiously to deliver it.
I think I need to clarify something. So we've already clarified that the votes will be recorded in the minutes if someone asks for them at the moment anyway. But if this is passed, then all the votes will be recorded in the minutes. Are you suggesting that there will also be a separate document that records people's votes? Because the reason I asked, David, is because, of course, there won't need to be a redesign to incorporate this because they'll be in the minutes anyway.
How the website team proposes it to the assets and community team, who then recommend it to council, I would not wish to presume.
So you don't, but I think we do need to be clear because we're effectively giving instructions to our officers. So just to be clear, you want the votes for resolutions and motions to be recorded in the minutes. But you don't want a separate document.
I think if we stick to what the motion says, then we're not going to confuse things. My final point with Councillor Gregori raised, he was confusing confidential voting with public voting. He's quite right. On confidential and commercial matters, it is not publicly declared, and it would not appear on the website or in the public minutes. I support the motion or resolution that's proposed later on in the agenda about publicising the recordings on the website. However, for an ordinary member of the public who just wants to have a view on how each member or their ward member has voted on various things, that'll be quite a time-consuming way to find out. A more simple at-a-glance system, such as They Vote For You or Hansard, is a much more practical solution, and which we can build into our refreshed website. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Right. I think Rebecca and then Joanne. Can you keep it brief though, please?
Yes.
Because we're now like an hour into the meeting.
Okay.
Up to 8.
Well, as we know, the best indicator of relevant future behavior is relevant past behavior. So if residents want to know how they want to judge their council members and how they think they will vote in the future, they can do this. So I don't know why people would be against this. In relation to somebody's, I think it was Councillor Gregori, I don't do hints, so I don't practice passive aggressive communication. I'm quite a direct communicator. The other thing I would like to say is we have had councillors make complaints about actions that council has done. And some of the members that were making the complaint at the previous meeting actually voted for the very actions that they're complaining about. I don't know if they forgot how they voted or if they're making complaints about that because the vote wasn't recorded. But I've never encountered that because, as I said, in America, everything's transparent. So nobody would ever do that sort of thing. And if we rely on people putting their hands up, that indicates that someone has to be at this actual meeting at this actual time or be videoing the meeting, which I don't know if that's against GDPR. So that means if somebody wants to know exactly how somebody votes, they actually have to be at this meeting. And then the person could lie and said they didn't vote that way. And I'd also said that Councillor Hughes said something about the traffic light thing. Well, 1 in 8 men are actually color deficient and 1 in 200 women are, and I'm one of the 200 women. So the traffic light thing doesn't help me at all. So I think that was, that will help some people, but it doesn't help me. So that was all I had to say.
Okay, cool. I'll just mention 2 things quite quickly. The first one is that members should always be deciding how to vote what's called in the council chamber. If they make their decision before the meeting, that's something called predetermination, which is illegal. So therefore, regardless of any vote on a similar subject before, councillors should make their decision in a meeting, and if they declare it, for example, on Facebook beforehand, they run the risk of being excluded from the vote because they would have predetermined the outcome of their vote. Secondly, we also have the 6 months rule, which means that a specific motion can't be overturned within 6 months anyway. So I'm not quite sure how someone could vote against something within 6 months, but let's be honest, over time things change. So members are entitled to change their minds over time. So, Joanne Call.
Thank you. I didn't expect quite this much debate, to be honest, from this motion. I was really just trying to increase the simplicity of the process to make it easier for us and for the public to know how we voted. And it won't cause excessive paperwork just to add our names. We already say how many voted against, how many voted for. Just adding the names to the minutes isn't going to cause excessive paperwork or time. So yeah, ultimately, I just wanted to make this quite simple for everyone involved. The recording of the meetings that's later on in the agenda, I actually wasn't aware that was going on the agenda when I submitted my motion. So I'm sorry if anyone feels I've contradicted anything, but I wasn't aware of it. But actually, I did propose that motion last year to record the meetings and keep hold of the recordings, but it was voted against. So I'd be very surprised if everyone voted for it this time, since everybody voted against it last time. And also, I'd just like to apologise, because I didn't mean to offend Councillor Long or any other councillor with my comments. I was actually repeating a comment that a member of the public made on Facebook, that they believe what they see from our meetings is that some councillors are voting for or against because of a dislike for the personal party. And that is what a member of the public said. And I was just repeating it. So again, I didn't mean to cause offence by my comment.
Okay, brilliant. Again, I just mentioned that the last time that was voted on, that was an audio recording, and I think the makeup of the council has changed quite substantially since then. So members are free to do whatever they like in terms of this vote. So are we now happy to move to a vote? Good. Right. So all those in favour of, oh, sorry, you're going to do the roll call, aren't you, Tracy? Sorry. So I'll repeat the original motion, because it's been quite a long time since we heard the substantive motion, that individual members' votes on resolutions and motions be recorded, which will have to be in the minutes, for all council and committee meetings, and be made publicly available on the council website, and that standing orders be amended accordingly.
Okay.
So all right, sorry, Tracy, off you go, sorry.
So Councillor Rolls.
Against.
Councillor Mayer.
For.
Councillor Long.
I find this motion rather confusing, because after the discussion, it is not clear whether it is just going to be the minutes or whether there'll be a separate page on the website. If it is just the minutes, I would be for it, but I'm going to have to vote against it, because if it's going to be a separate page on the website, then I would be against it, because that has other implications. And I do not feel that this motion is absolutely clear, so I'm going to vote against.
Councillor Treadwell.
I think I'll abstain on this one if I can.
Councillor Call. Do you call?
Which call?
David.
Sorry.
For.
Councillor Mrs. Call.
For.
Councillor Gregory.
Abstain.
Councillor Sangster.
I'm going to be for the motion because I agree in principle, but I don't appreciate being told how to vote in terms of if it's right or wrong, or if you agree with me or not. But I do agree with the principle, and I have nothing to hide.
So you're for. Yeah. Councillor Ecclestone.
For.
Councillor Hughes.
Abstain.
Councillor Asamoah.
Well, for building relationship with the residents, between councillors and residents, I think it's critical and pivotal that obviously this motion goes through, so I'm for it.
So that's 6 votes for, 2 against, and 3 abstain. So that's carried.
Okay. Item 9, action points from the last meeting. These are to note, so there'll be no debate there. Item 10, HR consultant. To ratify the appointment of the HR consultant in accordance with the Local Government Act 1972, Schedule 101, arrangements for discharge of functions by local authority, subject to any express provision contained in this Act or any Act passed after this Act. A local authority may arrange for the discharge of any of their functions by a committee, subcommittee, or an officer of the authority. Would you like to add anything to this, Tracy?
This was just brought forward because there was a question about the authority to appoint this person. It was appointed under delegated authority, and I said I'd just bring this along to council just to ratify. so that it's actually recorded in the minutes.
Point of order.
Well, we haven't. Before we can debate, we need. Before we can do anything, we need a proposer and a seconder. So I'll propose this. Councillor Hughes, you're seconding.
I'll second it. And could we have a recorded vote, please?
Thank you.
Point of order.
Well, right. Okay, Christopher, what's your point of order?
This, with two other items on the agenda, are items that have been brought to the agenda without a stated nominator or seconder before the meeting, and it was agreed in the last council that all motions brought, except from the staff, and now I understand that this is being brought by the local town clerk, have to have a nominator and a seconder. So it should state that it's been brought by the officers, because otherwise it has to have a nominator or a seconder to even get on the agenda. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So where were we? We've got a proposer and a seconder. What do I want to say about this? Well, it's been done, and we should vote for it, basically. So who wants to go first? David, cool.
Me.
Sorry, David had his hand up first. You can go next, Christopher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The wording of the resolution that's being proposed is not sufficiently clear. If you take it to the extreme, this council is appointing a HR consultant forever and a day, which is not the purpose, I believe, of this motion. And I would like clarification. Is this HR consultant appointed purely to look at staff grievances against the council, in which case I will support this motion, or is this HR consultant being appointed to continue providing HR support to this council? And I may support that.
Tracy?
The HR consultant was brought in to predominantly just deal with the current issues with the council. It's not a longer term appointment.
David?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is the HR consultant looking at grievances against the council is my specific question.
I don't think we can answer that, can we, Tracy?
Well, if I may clarify.
Oh, hang on. I think Tracy's stalled. You stalled there, Tracy, your video.
Sorry.
Start again.
The HR consultant is there to ensure that the council acts in accordance with its professional duties and employment law, and to advise the council on correct process.
Are you happy with that response, David?
Yes, and I would like that the motion amended accordingly, and I would quite happily propose that amendment to this motion.
Well, do you want to read out what your changes are then?
Exactly what Trace, the proper officer, just said. Thank you.
Well, I can't remember what she said.
So that the HR officer was appointed under delegated authority to help to look at the grievance process and to help to advise council.
Should we say to ratify the appointment of the HR consultant in accordance with the Local Government Act 1972, Schedule 101, with respect to ongoing grievances?
Yeah, she's not there to go with ongoing grievances. She's just to deal with them.
That's well, the ones that are current grievances, whatever the terminology you want to use. Okay. Does that make sense?
I think what the proper officer was posing was more palatable to members, and I would prefer.
Well, you're free to make whatever amendment you want, David, but you've actually got to say the words, unfortunately.
Mr. Mayor, I said I was happy to support the words that the proper officer said, and I was waiting for her to repeat them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll try and remember what I said, but it was to, it's just to ratify the appointment of the HR officer, and with the ongoing process of grievances in the council, to ensure that the council deals with it correctly and in accordance with employment law. So she's advising the council.
Mr. Mayor, that's slightly different because that implies that the HR consultant is looking at any type of grievance, which quite clearly that is
right. Right. Enough. Tracy can't remember what she said in the first instance, so I know I'm within my rights to be given the written amendment that you require, and we're not voting on it until the words are correct and clear to all members. So you can either come up with the words now and put an amendment forward, or not put an amendment forward. And I think that's fair enough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I shall I should take 2 minutes to write this while other people.
Yep. Okay. Right then, where do we get to? Right, hang on a minute. I've got yeah. So this is going to be a recorded vote, obviously, because Councillor Hughes has requested it. Okay, the other notes in the chat are historical. So who else would like to speak to this motion? Rebecca.
I was just confused.
I thought I was speaking.
Yeah, Christopher.
Okay,
are we speaking to
Christopher,
the
then
original
Rebecca.
motion, or we're speaking to the amendment?
Oh no, David hasn't made it yet.
Oh, okay. So I'll speak to the original motion.
Okay.
I have 2 points to make. One is that we already have an HR consultant and have done since start of this year, late last year. So I'm not clear why that HR consultant is not adequately purposed. Someone could illuminate that.
Tracy, I think it's you were talking about the one that we have engaged.
Yeah, we're just ratifying actually the HR consultant that we've had in place recently to deal with some issues for the council. We had to bring them in as an emergency to ensure that the council was acting lawfully, and that's what we've done. She was brought in under delegated authority. She's undertaken an investigation, and that is now, she's concluded that investigation. So because there were questions from the council, I just brought them the agenda. We're asked to put the agenda item on just to ratify that appointment. So that's basically all that we've got to do, really. We can't really go into what she has done and what she hasn't done because of confidentiality.
So this is actually what she's already done. There's nothing else to do.
No, she's done her role now.
Oh, so she's over and done. Thank you for that. But I haven't finished speaking, actually. Having had an exceedingly brief interaction with this person, I must say that I will not be voting for this motion because I find her unprofessional. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Rebecca?
I'm confused about who the delegated authority was and why we didn't originally go to the actual HR people, because that means we're paying for an HR person, HR normally, and then we're paying for a special HR person. Did that, I'm confused. Did the person go to the HR person for recommendation first, or did they find this outside source? And I would like to know if it's only against the council or if it was against individuals, if it was against, if they're basically, I don't know who was using this. Are they using it for council, or are they asking an HR representative for their own advice? Because that would be paying money, double paying money. It would be because we already have an HR person, so it's
I can answer that one for you, but unless Tracy wants to. But basically, all the people that the town council employ as a consultant work for the town council itself as a corporate body. So to this extent, this consultant was brought in with specific knowledge of employment law and grievance processes. And I think, as Tracy's already said, it's not appropriate to discuss whether it was against individuals or the council itself. Does that cover it, Tracy?
Yeah, that's correct. Can I just come back on something that I said, actually, when I said that the HR consultant has finished her work, obviously she's undertaken what she was asked to do, and members are going to be receiving recommendations at council meeting next week. Obviously, if there's anything arising from that, there may be additional work that she needs to pick up or is asked to pick up, but at the moment she has undertaken all her investigations and completed that piece of work.
And there are provisions in the laws that govern the operation of parish councils that specifically say that if emergency action is required, yes, then the clerk and the chairman can make a decision. For example, if the office, not that we're using it at the moment, but if the office had a leak, then clearly we wouldn't wait until the next council meeting to call in a plumber. And then subsequently at the appropriate meeting afterwards, that would be ratified by a vote. I hope that makes things a little bit clearer.
Pest control, isn't it? Not a plumber.
Sorry, who's Camden Communications? Would you like to mute your microphone?
Oh, I beg your pardon. I'm so sorry. You may have heard my pest control analogy. Forgive me.
Guess he did that on purpose, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, he's gone now. Right, next. Sorry, David, is this for your amendment?
Yes, it is, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. You can put your hand down.
My proposed amendment is to ratify the retrospective appointment of the HR consultant, Amy Loxton, whose work has now been completed, to ensure the council was acting lawfully and to support and advise the council on HR and employment law matters.
Well, I think Tracy's just said that her work may not actually be complete, so we'd have to remove that.
We don't know whether her work has or has not been completed.
Well, you just said in your amendment that you're saying her work is complete, but I think based on what Tracy's just said, it's not complete.
The proper officer has stated that her work that she was commissioned to do is now complete, which...
no, Tracy, do you want to come back on that? You did say there might be other things that she needs to do to present it to the full council meeting, is that right? You're on mute, Tracy.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Her investigation is complete, and we will be taking those findings to the or I will be bringing those recommendations to the next council meeting. However, if there's anything arising from that, and also people that raised a grievance do have, through employment law, the right of appeal. So we're still within an appeal situation timeframe. So there could be issues arising, but at the moment her work is complete. But please, members, we have to be very careful that we're breaching any confidentiality here in this discussion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will amend the discussion, the proposed amendment to read, to ratify the retrospective appointment of the HR consultant, Amy Loxton, to ensure the council is acting lawfully and to support and advise the council on HR and employment law matters.
Have you got that, Tracy?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your amendment, David. So who's seconding that? Oh, I've got my video off. Sorry. So who's seconding that?
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Councillor J. Call. Right then, do we want to debate the amendment? Right, okay then. So do you want to do the roll call, Tracy?
Yeah, sure. Councillor Rolls.
I'll vote for it.
Councillor Mayer,
4.
Councillor Long,
4.
Councillor Treadwell,
4.
Councillor David Cole,
4.
Councillor Mrs. Cole,
4.
Councillor Gregory,
4.
Councillor Sangster,
4.
Councillor Ecclestone,
Against.
Councillor Hughes,
4.
and Councillor Asamoah.
Against.
Thank you. That's carried.
Right, so that's carried. So therefore, that becomes the substantive motion. So now we'll go on to item 11, committee minutes, to note and receive the attached minutes of the undermentioned committees. Policy and Resources Committee, 14th of October, attached Appendix B. Plan Committee, 29th of September, attached Appendix C. Plan Committee, 19th of October, attached Appendix D. Right. Councillor David Cole, then Rebecca. I can't see anyone else's hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is an outstanding recommendation from the 14th of October Policy and Resources Committee that has not been submitted to Council. And I would like to know when it will appear on the Council agenda. One other item that was recommended on that same meeting has previously appeared on the Council agenda, and this particular one has not. And I'd be grateful if it could be, if we could ensure that it appears on the next Council meeting, regardless of whether it's extraordinary or general. Thank you, Mr.
Okay, so what we're looking at here before we continue is, are these minutes an accurate representation of what happened in those meetings?
No,
we're not looking at that. If they're not, then specifically why?
Mr. Mayor, we're not here to approve the accuracy of committee minutes. That's the committee's job. We're here to receive a note, and I just pointed out that something has not been brought to this council. Thank you.
Okay, so we don't need to discuss any of this then, really. They're just to note.
Actually.
So shall we move on then? Okay, so item 12, finance, to note the following list of payments, Appendix E. So that's noted. To receive the reconciled bank statements up to the 30th of September, Appendix F. And finally, we need to approve the cash book up to the 30th of September, Appendix G. So I'll propose that. Do we have, first of all, do we have a seconder? Because if we don't, we can't debate it.
Mr. Mayor, point of order, page 61 and 62. I would like an inquiry to see if this is a breach of GDPR.
Tracy?
Is this the one regarding the allotment payments?
Yes.
Yes, I have checked that, and we've had a response actually from the Information Commissioner's Office, and it doesn't actually give their personal details as such. It just gives their name and a plot number. So therefore, they don't see that in business need as against GDPR. It doesn't trace that person back to where they're living or give their personal banking details.
But it does trace them back to their allotment plots.
Yes, but it's no different than if you booked out or similar. If you were to book out a committee room, you'd have the name of the hirer and how much they paid for that hire. This is just the name of an allotment person and the plot that they're paying for. So it's not actually giving out their personal details.
Are you happy with that, Barbara? You're on mute, Barbara.
No, I'm not really very happy about it, but that has been the ruling that it's not a GDPR issue.
Okay. So we'll go back to, do we have a seconder?
Can I, sorry, can I just ask a question, please?
No, sorry. If we don't have a seconder, we can't discuss it.
I'm just concerned that shouldn't we be approving the payments up to the 26th of November as well? There's a note, but should we not be approving them?
Well, this is what's on the agenda. So if we don't have a seconder, then we can't approve it and we can't discuss it because we can't enter into. Sorry, Tracy.
Yeah, if I can just explain, I think there's some confusion over to approve the schedule of payments. The council is a business, so therefore it does have to make its payments in accordance with making payments. Your budgets and your budget headings and your amount within your budgets are your approval to spend that money. The officers and invoices should be raising POs within that budget and then making payments that are necessary for it. And I've been assured that this is what's happened in the past, that, you know, they haven't always brought along payments to be approved before they pay it.
Okay.
Just before you speak, Joe, the important thing that I think I need to mention, which backs up what Tracy's saying, is that as a corporate body, any contractual obligations we've entered into, and I think we covered this in the previous meeting, we are obliged to make. So those payments have to take place so that we don't break a contractual obligation, which actually the council has already approved.
Can I reply?
Yeah.
I'm just very concerned because having looked at it, there seems to be a rather large overspend of over £5,000 that hasn't been approved, and that's my concern, that this hasn't been noticed.
On what?
It's on the legal fees, solicitors, all the professional bodies. There's an overspend of about £5,622 that hasn't been approved.
But what hasn't been approved?
Well, the approved 6,000 was approved in the budget for 2020-21 on expenditure on this item. I believe 1,650 has already been spent. There's a balance of 4,350, but in the Appendix E, it shows an expenditure of 9,900 on this item, and that hasn't approved. Only £6,000 was approved in the budget, and I'm concerned that this is going through, not being noticed by anybody, and that's why I think it should be approved or not.
It is in the cash book, so it has been publicly made available. But I think, Tracy, I think I'm right in saying that our delegated responsibility means that for instances of professional consultants, we have a standing budget of up to £2,500 to employ consultants under delegated authority.
I believe that you have, yes, and also I need to advise the council that a local clerk can legitimately come from your staffing cost budget. So you do have money, I believe you've got about 60,000 left for the rest of the financial year in your staffing budget. So I think it's just apportioning these costs to the correct budget heading so that you're not overspend on any of your budgets. So you have the funds there, it's just not allocated to the correct budget at the moment.
So I'm just going to stop there. I'm just going to stop us there because unless we have a seconder, we can't debate this. So if no one else is going to second it, then we'll move on.
I'm happy to second it for the sake of debate because I wish to speak.
Okay, so that's seconded. So now we can move to debate.
Okay, I would like to note, and I've raised this before and it has not been given an adequate answer, that since March, we have been employing a temporary receptionist. Now, up until these set of payments, the payments to the temp agency were split out and shown separately. These are not shown here now. Over £10,000 by my calculation has been spent on a temporary receptionist who is not receiving anyone because she's not in the office. So I cannot vote for these payments despite the fact that I have seconded the motion, because these payments are not showing what I believe to be fiscal irresponsibility by this town council or the officers of this town council in employing someone who is not required at great expense to the public. Thank you.
Sorry, Tracy, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, normally what happens is any payments that is staffing related is shown not individually, it's shown under the staffing budget heading. She is there working, she's receiving calls, and even though the office is closed, as you know, the town council is still operating, they're still working behind the scenes, they're still working. They are answering queries and residents' queries and helping to raise agendas and minutes and background work to keep the council functioning. But the reason
I would note, though, as a correction, that Councillor Joanne Cool has gone back through all of the payments for this year and has prepared me the numbers, because the temp agency is not a staff member. It is a supplier of services to the council. It doesn't necessarily have to be even the same person. And she has calculated them because they were shown. And now that I've started asking about the issue, someone has decided not to show them anymore. And this is unacceptable.
Okay, Councillor Ecclestone, can I look into that for you? And I will come back to you on those payments, if that's okay. I mean, we do these payments. I mean, some of them have already been made, so it is to note these accounts. As part of the Transparency Act, we have to show you the payments that are being made. But I'm afraid I don't know about the agency. I don't know where her payment is shown. So if I can come back to you on that, please.
Right. Okay. So, Councillor David Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some of the things that concern me regarding this is the lack of connection and coordination. We are supposed to note expenditure payments up to the 26th, and you yourself said we would have approved it as part of the cash book. However, the cash book that we are approving only goes up to the 30th of September. So everything we are doing is retrospective in notice. Yes. And we are not being given the opportunity to challenge some of the payments that are being proposed. Now, there are some issues, and I have to respect the proper officer's personal request to me not to raise those issues at this moment. But members need to be able to question some of the payments that are being made that have not followed the due process of being considered by a committee or by a council. They are being made by officers and other members without following the correct procedure. And we are not getting that transparency.
I've got to step in. I'm sorry, David, I've got to step in. That's completely untrue.
Mr. Mayor, unless that's
if you can point, look, the decision to employ a receptionist, no, stop now, because what you've said is not factually correct.
It's not about a receptionist.
Well, that's what's been mentioned. If you want to mention,
that means you need to listen to him. You're assuming.
Please stop interrupting, Rebecca. Please.
Pot kettle black.
All the decisions that have been made have been previously approved. For example, to employ a temp receptionist, that was taken many months ago. So give me another example, and I'll come back on you as to why that's not true. Can you give me another example, David?
Mr. Mayor, I would respectfully request that if you wish to interrupt me, please do so on a point of order. Otherwise, please allow me.
Well, I am the chairman, so if you're not telling the truth, I have to step in and stop you. It's that simple. Sorry.
How do you know what's true and not true?
My powers to do so stem from common law and are enshrined in the Local Government Acts. And I'm really sorry you don't get that, but you have to accept it or don't be a councillor. So is there anything else on this cash book that you have a question about specifically without grandstanding and making a great big speech? Because we're now an hour and 45 minutes into the meeting and we've got to progress.
Please, may I come
Tracy.
in? Please, may I come in and help? Because of staff difficulties and probably because of COVID, officers have got behind on their payments. Absolutely, you know, council should be receiving as much up-to-date information as they can. And now your councils are back to monthly and officers are back in working. We will try our best to do that. So all the payments at a council meeting will be up to whatever it is the date of that agenda going out. That's how it should be shown. Does that satisfy what members require?
Before I was interrupted, Mr. Mayor, as I was saying, I cannot disclose this information because the proper officer has asked me not to, and I have to respect the proper officer in this instance, not the chair of this council. However, the point is, decisions are being made that should not be made unless they have gone through the proper committee and the proper council.
But what decisions?
Mr.
You still
Mayor,
haven't
please.
said anything specifically.
Mr.
You've
Mayor,
really
please.
got to do that now.
No.
Mr. Mayor, if you continue to interrupt me, I will move a motion to have you excluded from the meeting.
You can't do that.
Mr. Mayor, I can
Sorry.
do that.
No, you can't. I'm sorry, David. Look, the Local Government Act clearly says if the chair is present, they will chair the meeting. Now, you've really got to be specific about what you are questioning in the cash book, or I'm going to have to ask you to stop speaking. And if you don't, I'll have you ejected from the meeting. This is
Tracy's raising her
ridiculous.
hand. I think she wants to
Tracy.
give advice.
Sorry, please, can I help this? I think because of COVID, there were agreements that certain payments would be made under a COVID emergency fund. And I think it would help the council all round if we now try and bring this council back into order and how it was operating before, because now we're having monthly meetings. Now that we've got all staff there, I think members are probably preferring that emergency payments aren't made anymore. There's no need to now that the council is meeting and the committees are meeting monthly, that we should be putting proper procedures in place again now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just to conclude my speech, I am concerned the chair and the vice chair of the Policy and Resources Committee are being excluded from discussions regarding the finances that are presented to this council. And this needs investigating, and I request that the mayor invites the proper officer to request to the internal auditor to examine the internal processes of how we deal with financing within this council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I would suggest, therefore, that you put a motion forward at the next full council meeting. Tracy.
Sorry, there's no need for this because we've actually got the internal auditor coming in to do this year's internal audit. So all that sort of processes will be picked up anyway, and then it will be reported openly to council. So we don't need a special motion to do that because that's part of the audit regime anyway. And I do know that he's starting his work tomorrow.
Okay, so any specific questions about the cash book?
I know that these are supposed to go to I'm the chair and the vice chair. We haven't received all of the information. And so I am dubious of how I could look at anything. I haven't gotten the full council minutes in the mail and I don't have a printer. So I'm having to scan back and forth on everything. So it has been quite difficult to do this. And again, there's something outstanding on there that I'm not allowed to talk about because the proper officer has told me not to talk about it. You're encouraging me to talk about it, but as the chair of Policy and Resources, I'm urging people to not vote for this because there are some irregularities in there that are very bad, that make this council or someone at the council look as dodgy as some of my relatives, which I have some very dodgy relatives. It is not good when you don't have a chain of command and have multiple people look at this. I haven't had time to look at this because, as I said, I haven't even gotten this full council in the post yet. Excuse me, I'm still talking.
Well,
so there's so many financial excuse me, I'm still talking. Are you interrupting me again? Can you please stop?
Yeah, because I'm the chairman and you're babbling. Come on,
and
get
I'm
to
the
point.
chair. Excuse me, I'm the chair of policy and resources.
Well, you're not the chair of this meeting,
I do
I'm
these
afraid.
accounts, and I haven't gotten anything about this.
You're
They
not in
need to
the
know
chain of
that.
command. The
So
reports,
you're
these
interrupting the
reports,
chair of policy and
the
resources
cash book
to
gets
talk about
presented
this.
by the officers to the full council, end of story.
And it's supposed to present it to the chair of policy and resources and the vice chair, which did not happen. It has so many financial irregularities. We can be sued. Do not vote for this unless you want us to be sued.
How long do
I
you want to carry
cannot
on
name
for?
who it is. You want me to illegally name. I'm
No, I
not
don't want
going
you
to do that.
I'm saying if you
Councillor.
can't, then stop talking. Tracy.
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Mayor, but there aren't financial irregularities. There may be internal controls in what you've put in, maybe financial regulations, but there are not financial irregularities. That's something completely different that we're talking about. But this is just internal controls of how something has been authorised and sort of noted in the budget. So can I take the opportunity? I will go back to the officers and I will produce a report to you all on this so that we understand where we all are with payments, if that's okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, because they're not all contractual payments.
Yeah.
The chair said they were, and they're not all contractual payments. So
no, but I think
that noted as well.
But I think because of COVID, some payments have been made that maybe should have come to council first, and I'll do a report for you if that's okay.
Yes.
Tracy, or sorry, so I've got to go through Richard. If there are payments that have been made that haven't come through council and aren't part of our approved payments already, and they're under like emergency local government act, something like that, can you attach the wording of that act with it, with the documentation?
Oh, in the report.
Yeah, so we can just read the word and we don't have to go.
Yeah, there's quite a few different bits actually, but yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, that's Bill. Thank you.
So shall we move on then, rather than vote on this? Do we still want to continue?
I'd like a recorded vote, Mr. Chairman.
You'd like a recorded vote?
just to make sure we're very transparent.
Yeah,
and to just reinforce that I agree with Councillor Hughes.
Okay. So if there's no more debate, excellent. Let's go to a vote then. Tracy, do the roll call.
Councillor Rolls.
I'm for.
Councillor Mayer.
I'm actually confused about what this actual motion is because it didn't get repeated.
It's to approve.
To receive and approve the cash book up to the 30th of September 2020.
Against.
Councillor Long.
I'm very confused. I think I'm going to abstain.
Councillor Treadwell.
I guess on the testimony of Rebecca Mayer, I'll probably have to go against, I think.
Councillor David Cole.
Against, and pending the report that you will be producing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. J. Cole.
Against.
Councillor Gregory.
For.
Councillor Sangster.
For.
Councillor Ecclestone.
Against.
Councillor Hughes.
For.
Councillor Asamoah.
I think I might need reviewing, so I'm going to go against on this one.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. So that's 6 against, 4 for the motion and 1 abstention. So therefore, it's voted that the members don't actually approve the cash book at the moment, and I will come back with an explanation of the cash book.
Okay, excellent. Right, item 13 then, draft budget for next year. This is the first step of the process that we've agreed last year and this year in different meetings. That's attached Appendix H. So that's to note Item 14, AGAR for 2019-2020. Sorry.
Yeah, I had a hand up for a question on the draft budget.
Oh, right. Sorry. I was busy reading it off the screen. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, that's okay. I passed in, I went through the draft budget and found some figures that I couldn't reconcile myself the other day. I did pass an email on to the proper officers to see if I could have an explanation. I've yet to receive a reply to those. I wondered whether I would be getting a reply for the next meeting or whatever. It's just to bring me up to date. Thank you.
Tracy?
Yes, it's actually your town clerk that has been doing the draft budget. So she has received your questions and she is in fact working on it today. So hopefully you'll receive a response in the next couple of days.
Before we continue, can we have a vote to extend the meeting? I'll propose it.
I'll second that.
So do you want to do the roll call, Tracy?
Yep. Councillor Rolls.
For.
Councillor Mayer.
Against.
Councillor Long.
Against.
Councillor Treadwell.
Dave? You're on mute, Dave.
I'll abstain on this one.
Councillor David Cool.
I'm gonna go for, because there are some really important items on the agenda.
Councillor Mrs. Cool.
For.
Councillor Gregory.
For.
Councillor Sangster.
For.
Councillor Ecclestone.
For.
Councillor Hughes.
Against.
Councillor Asamoah.
Against.
So it's 6-4. So this motion is carried to extend the meeting.
Sorry, Robin, did you want a recorded vote?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Absolutely. Every time.
Yeah. How long are we extending this meeting for? That wasn't mentioned.
Well, I don't know. I think we just
Meeting
extended
2 hours.
past 2 hours, don't we, Tracy?
No. You can do it for 30 minutes.
Well, 30 minutes then. Let's crack on. Right, where did we get to then? So AGAR 2019-2020 to receive and approve the completed AGAR for the year ended 31st of March 2020 attached to Appendix I. So before anyone wants to debate anything, can we have a seconder? I'll propose it. Anyone want to second it? Councillor Hughes is seconding. So do we wish to debate it? Councillor David Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Having read the AGAR, I am very disappointed with it. It is clear that by the mere bringing payment for a HR consultant that we have issues within this council, and these issues have been going back at least until the beginning of this administration, and I suspect going back into the previous administration as well, from the information I've received from former councillors who served on that previous administration. So there are quite clear process problems that the auditor has not spotted, and that worries me. The auditor should give us a clean bill of health, and we shouldn't be requiring a HR consultant to come in and deal with these issues. So I am afraid I will not be voting for this. I will be voting.
Sorry, if I can
Tracy?
come in and help. Actually, this isn't a vote whether we accept it or not. This is you have two types of audit. You have an internal audit who then makes comments on internal controls. And basically he's looking to make sure that the expenditure that you're doing is being spent and your accounts are being done as in accordance with audit regulations. And then that goes off to the external auditor who then looks, and they literally just look at your expenditure from last year to this year, and they ask to know any variations above or below 15%, and then they sign it off. So it's not questionable. It has been approved by external audit, and normally council are very relieved when you get a clear audit signed off. So, you know, in fairness, or due to your RFO who's done a good job with your accounts.
Okay, so who else wants to speak?
Myself.
Christopher, go for it.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I have very low confidence in the internal auditor after having raised the issue of overtime and toil twice, receiving no response. And Councillor Cool is correct. This problem goes back a long time, maybe as far back as 2010. But unfortunately, the internal auditor has not answered my questions on the subject, and this is a very serious issue. So then one thinks if there's an external auditor that is cross-checking the internal auditor and is rubber stamping what I feel is an under-examined aspect of the business of the town council, then it's compounding the problem. So unfortunately, I'm going to be recommending that we change the internal auditor. Thank you.
So just before Tracy speaks, I guess what I'm going to say is that the internal auditor can only respond to the clerk and the chairman concurrently, as it were, but also requests from the full council. So my suggestion is, rather than randomly bringing this up, quite plainly put a motion forward to the full council to ask for that question to be put to the internal auditor. Simple. Tracy?
I agree. You've just said what I was about to say, actually.
I thought so. Sorry, I thought I'd get in there.
An internal auditor won't speak to councillors individually. But I do know that, as I said, the internal auditor is starting some of his work again tomorrow, and he will be looking at the schedule of payments and the way that salaries are being made, and checking that all the processes are correct. So you will be receiving a report in that in due course anyway.
Okay, Rebecca?
As well, as you know, I'm chairman of policy and resources, and I followed up with the staff member that when we asked the internal auditor, and the staff member never came back to me, and we still haven't heard back. So as far as I'm concerned, we still haven't heard back from the internal auditor unless the staff didn't pass it on. Okay. So that's probably why Christopher actually went direct to the auditor, because we're not receiving a response.
Put a motion on the full council agenda, and then it will be the will of the full council to ask specific questions of the auditor. That's fair enough, surely.
Well, it doesn't. I'm just saying it doesn't work though, because Chairman, as you know, you took six months off last year, and if somebody's
that's
sick,
hardly got. That's actually it wasn't. It was 3 months, but okay.
Oh well, you periodically. I'm probably thinking about full council. Maybe perhaps, but anyway, it can be a problem if you're not there, or if somebody's off sick. As we know, we've had long-term sick on the staff, so that's going to be a problem. Sorry. That's the problem.
To do with what? I mean, if you want, let me restate to be totally clear. If someone wants to ask, if an individual member wants to ask the internal auditor a question, they must put it forward as a motion to full council to ask the internal auditor.
So that needs to be a motion then that you're doing.
Correct. Only the full council or the proper officer can have conversations with the. It's entirely acceptable, obviously, for the clerk of the council to talk to the auditor on an ad hoc basis, because they may have questions about the internal processes that we're using, and the clerk's probably the only person who can answer that. And beyond that, unless the full council asks to ask a question by a vote, then that's the only other mechanism.
So is that all your motion that you just said? I'm confused what your motion is.
I'm not putting a motion forward.
Oh, so you're saying that we have to go to full council, but it's not a motion?
No, you've got to put a motion forward to full council to ask the internal auditor a question. And then it's a request from the full council itself to the internal auditor.
So we're not supposed to go to staff anymore because you don't trust staff to come back to us because of
It's got
past
nothing to do
behavior?
with that. Those are the rules.
You told me that we either go to you or staff.
Point of
No,
order,
say that.
point of order, Mr. Mayor, point of order. Councillor Hughes at the 13th of March council meeting requested the chair to request the proper officer to instruct the internal auditor to carry out a report on the Andover Town Conservation Area design statement. There was no vote on this, and the proper officer duly carried out the instruction, and a internal auditor report was produced for the design statement. So we are either introducing a new procedure or we did it wrong.
No, that's sorry, Dave, that's not. The clerk can ask the internal auditor at her or his behest to undertake an investigation. I think that's right, isn't it, Tracy?
Yeah.
Tracy? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that answers that one. Next question.
So, Mr. Mayor, I have done exactly what Councillor Hughes did at the 13th of March meeting. I requested through the chair, and you are now saying I can't do that and I have to put forward a motion. I just wanted clarification whether Councillor Hughes was correct or whether I am correct. Thank you.
Right. Do you know what? That's got nothing to do with the item on the agenda, I'm afraid. Has it, really? So the AGAR, any questions about the AGAR? Otherwise, I suggest we move to a vote. Is that correct, Tracy?
Yeah, you're not actually, we're just actually receiving it, really. We hope.
Oh, it says to receive and approve, so we don't need to vote on it.
Or we're just.
Well, approve means a motion.
You're approving that you've
I know.
seen it. It has to be actually recorded in our council minutes that you've actually received the AGAR result, and then we have to put that up on the website.
Oh, okay, so we don't need to vote on it then?
No.
Ah,
Vote
right,
that
there we
you
go.
if you want.
Okay, so a vote's not required, so I suggest we move on as time's ticking on.
Okay.
You happy with that, Tracy?
Yeah.
Okay, so item 15, office staff availability times over the festive period. So you can all note that the council office remains closed. The staff will be working until the 23rd of December, and then they're back on the 4th of January. Item 16, committee dates, committee and council dates. Obviously, for those members that don't know, there are three methods for calling a meeting. One is an EGM called by 2 regular members. The second is an EGM called by the chairman on his own. And the third are meetings which are called at the behest of the full council. So that's why we need to change some of these dates. I presume it's so that you can attend, Tracy, and clerk the meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So therefore, we need to approve a set of dates when Tracy's available. I will propose this. Do I have a seconder?
I would just second, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Cool, David Cool, yeah. So do we really want to debate these? No. Okay then, so do you want to do the roll call, Tracy?
Councillor Rolls.
4.
Councillor Mayer.
4.
Councillor Long.
4.
Councillor Treadwell.
Dave? Dave?
Yep. Councillor Cool, David Cool.
4.
And I said Sarah now. Councillor Mrs. J. Cool.
4.
Councillor Gregory.
4.
Councillor Sangster,
For.
Councillor Ecclestone,
For.
Councillor Hughes,
For.
Councillor Asamoah.
For.
Thank you.
Oh, hello.
Carried.
Hello.
Hi, Dave.
Issue.
Did I miss that one?
Yes.
I was waiting for Barbara to reply. I realised it was my internet messing around. Sorry.
Oh, right, okay. Can he get his vote now? Tracy, now his internet's back?
Yeah, 4.
4, okay. Yeah.
Carried.
These things happen in this modern time of communications. So that's passed unanimously then?
Yep.
Okay. So item 17, emergency grant application to consider the attached grant application from Unity to assist in the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccinations for Andover, attached at Appendix J. Do we have a proposer and a seconder?
I would like to propose this, Mr.
So David Cole, Luigi is seconding. So do we, well, first of all, has everyone seen the appendix? Do you have any questions? Who wants to go first? Barbara, then Dave. Chobwell, sorry.
Can we confirm which budget line this grant would come out of? Would it come out of the emergency grant, and how much have we got left in that? Or is it coming out of the grant applications, and how much have we got left in that?
Tracy?
I just come in as far as I'm aware, you have 5,000 remaining in one grant budget, and you have 10,000 in the earmark reserves budget line.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would just like to speak as the proposer.
Yeah.
COVID-19 is having a devastating impact across the country. And now we have the opportunity for this vaccine. Unity has been asked by the CCG to help run the vaccination program, but with volunteers. Unity has no budget for this. They are going out seeking money wherever they can to fund the cost that's involved with employing volunteers. And this vaccination program will run until probably till at least April. So there is huge expense involved, and it benefits the whole community of Andover. You know, if nothing else that this town council does, this grant application approval will signify just how much this council cares about its residents. And I fully support this and hope that all members do as well. Thank you.
Okay. Rebecca?
I was just thinking I probably shouldn't vote on it because I've already said that I'll volunteer. Does that conflict of interest, I'm guessing?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I don't know. Okay.
Dave, oh, sorry, Dave,
yeah.
Have you got your hand up?
I didn't quite get the answer to one of my questions, the same as Barbara's. Which budget line is this coming out of? We got the figures.
I think I was about to propose an amendment, which would clarify that. So Tracy, what you said there was 2 pots of money? One, did you say the earmark reserves had 10,000 in?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would like to propose an amendment that we add to the end of that existing motion, and that the money be taken from the earmark reserve funds, which is called what, Tracy?
Sorry, I don't know. I believe it's just your emergency reserves for grants. I'm sorry, I don't know what you.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, it's called projects.
Okay, well, are we happy with that? Generally, it's got to come from.
I'll second it.
Okay, so
It's
that's
coming
amendment.
from.
So let's be clear first of all what the amendment is. So it's the existing motion to consider it. But that the money be taken from the project's earmark reserve. So are we happy to go for a vote on that, or it's
Yes,
been proposed and seconded by me and Christopher, so
this is just an amendment to it.
yeah,
You have
yeah,
to vote
adding
against.
adding your, because I had a similar question, so we've addressed that. Councillor David Cole.
Yeah, just wanted to confirm exactly the wording of the earmark reserve. It is called grants projects.
Is there any further debate on that amendment, or shall we go to a vote? Okay, we'll go to a vote then. Tracy, do you want to do the roll call?
Can I just clarify? So are we suggesting we take all £6,000 that Unity are requesting out of the earmark reserve, or are we using the £5,000 from?
No, because that will then leave it for other people, as I'm sure there will be during the crisis that's still ongoing. So it kind of I think it makes sense to leave some money in there. And then if we did, we'd have to still take £1,000 out of the other one anyway. So, because I think you said there was 5,000 in the other budget, didn't you, Tracy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we'd still have to take 1,000 out of the other one anyway. So it kind of makes sense just to take it from one place, really. So let's go to a roll call then, Tracy.
Yep. Councillor Rolls.
4.
Councillor Mayer.
4.
Councillor Long.
4.
Councillor Treadwell.
4.
Councillor Cool.
If that's me, 4.
Councillor Mrs. Cool.
4.
Councillor Gregory.
4.
Councillor Sangster.
4.
Councillor Ecclestone.
4.
Councillor Hughes.
4.
Councillor Asamoah.
4.
Unanimous.
Okay, so that's carried then. Item 18, meeting recordings to be made available on the website. To consider whether recordings of the council and the committees should be available to access via the town's website. I'll propose that if anyone wants to second it.
Oh, could I just say one thing?
Yeah, go on then.
Sorry, it's just following on from the last point. To me, that was an amendment to the original vote.
Yeah, but when the right, so let's just pause for a second. Right,
Yeah,
so just to explain, Dave. So when there's an amendment put forward, if the amendment is voted for, it then becomes the substantive motion. So it replaces the original. Now, in the case of item 17, it had the original text with something added on the end.
Oh,
so
right.
the original motion was actually included in the amendment.
Yeah, I mean, I would have voted for it anyway, but if we could be a bit clearer, when we say amendment, if we're going to then follow up with the complete vote, whether it's an amendment.
No, if the amendment passes, the original motion falls, and then the substantive motion becomes the amendment that's been voted on.
It would be handy if we say, if it's somehow clear.
Well,
because to me that was an amendment, and then it was to follow through.
No. An amendment then becomes the substantive motion. So just that's the way it is, really. Okay, so let's go on to, sorry. So item 18, we've got a proposer and a seconder. I'm proposing, Councillor David Cole's seconding. So does anyone want to go first, or do we want to just go to a vote? Councillor Hughes.
Just a question, how large are these recordings, and how much additional, if any, there might be no cost whatsoever, I just want to make sure that there is no additional cost on the burdens of the website and everything else that we have. That's all.
I can answer that pretty succinctly. So if a YouTube channel is set up, as many other councils have done, by the way, to have these recordings online, then a link, when we have on our website, we have the minutes of meetings. There can also be a link or an embedded section of code that embeds the YouTube video. So we won't actually be putting any more burden on the web server that runs our website. Does that answer your question? Yep. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to say that I strongly support this motion, having advocated in the previous council that recordings be kept after discovering that staff were airbrushing the minutes. So in this case, there'll be no dispute over what was actually said by whom, when. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, should we go to a vote? Tracy, do you want to do the roll call?
Yeah, Councillor Rolls.
4.
Councillor Mayer.
4.
Councillor Long.
Against.
Councillor Treadwell.
Dave. Dave. Wakey, wakey. 4. Thanks.
Councillor David Cool.
4.
Councillor Mrs. Cool.
4.
Councillor Gregory.
Abstain.
Councillor Sangster.
4.
Councillor Ecclestone.
4.
Councillor Hughes.
4.
Councillor Asamoah.
4.
Okay, that's carried.
Did you ask? Sorry, did you ask Rebecca?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I know for some reason she's asking me second all the time. I don't know if she thinks I'm vice chair or what.
No, I've just got a list in the name.
Oh, okay.
Ticks all over it. Sorry.
Right. Okay, so item 19, Andover levy negotiation team, to consider an alternative Andover levy negotiation team. I'm not sure whether we want to discuss this as time is trundling on. Are we happy to lay that over to the next meeting? Yeah, okay. Item 20, procurement process. So you'll note in Appendix K, there's an outline suggestion for a procurement process, which is often used by councils and businesses as well. One of the issues I think we do need to address is that the internal auditor, whether you like it or not, has suggested that we, improve our procurement process. And what we don't want to do is get to the point where the external auditor picks up that the internal auditor's made a recommendation and we haven't followed through. So this is just to note, we don't need to vote on it. I would hope that the, whatever it's called now, what's it called now? Policy and Resources Committee will take that up and sort that out. That'd be great. Right, so item 21, again, members training update, to receive an update on members training. The only thing I'm just going to quickly say on this is that we as a council, we do pay into HELC. So members that haven't had the opportunity of training, I know we've got some new councillors, so Jason and Nicholas, I can highly recommend the HELC training. I think a lot of the guys there that do it are absolutely brilliant, and they don't mind you asking questions because, they assume that people are going on the training so they don't know what's what. So please make use of that training as much as you can. because it's really valuable, and B, we've already subscribed to it, so I can highly recommend that. Nicholas?
I'm not trying to be cheeky, but has most councillors been on this course themselves?
Well, as you can see from the appendix, some councillors have been on it quite a lot, including me. Other councillors, well, haven't attended any training. So get in there quick and embarrass them. That's what I would say, Nicholas.
Now I'm actually worried I want to go in now. Probably will turn bad.
They can't reject you as a councillor. Don't worry. Don't worry. Jason, sorry.
What's the process for doing the training?
So one of the things Tracy or Wendy might be able to do is to send out a list of all the training that's organised. I know they've had to change, well, all their schedule because they were hosted in Eastleigh, obviously physically, but obviously that's changed. So they're being done virtually. So if Tracy and or Wendy could circulate a list of all the dates, and then people can sort of go on the training as much as they like, really.
Yeah, sure.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Item 22, speed indicator signs. To note that grant applications have been made to Test Valley Borough Council and Hampshire County Council to purchase the speed indicator signs. The location for all signs have been agreed. Once the outcome for grant application has been received, the SIDs will be purchased. So that's great. After a year, it looks like we're finally getting there. Okay, item 23. Sorry, Tracy, I was going to call you Wendy then. Do we have any questions as per standing order number 8?
No.
No. Okay. Item 24, to receive reports from town councillors. Who wants to go first? Councillor David Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have received some disturbing confidential reports from a number of my residents, which I have forwarded on to the appropriate authorities for further action. Because it's of a confidential nature, I cannot discuss it any further. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Barbara?
I've attended various meetings with the Test Valley Association of Local Parish Councils.
Okay, was there anything interesting that happened, or? Maybe I should, sorry, Barbara, maybe I should have rephrased that. Do you have anything specific to report about the meeting? Sorry.
No.
Okay. Anyone else?
I do.
Councillor Mayer?
Yeah, I attended it. David Cool did, Barbara Long. I don't know if Luigi attended the same meeting that Barbara brought up. I would just encourage other people to attend them. They're looking for suggestions of things that you want to talk about. So if you want any assistance, like Jason Sangster or Nicholas, if you need any things that you don't want to wait for the training for, you could bring it up with them, email the chairman or something, and they could try to discuss it. And then you have a whole group of people discussing, and most of them have been Paris or town councillors for a long time. So they they know what they're doing. So yeah, I don't have any, other than that, I don't have anything to report.
Anyone else?
Chairman, we need to do another extension of time if you want to continue.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll propose it then. Let's do it very quickly so we can get to the end. Any seconder? Jason? Jason's seconding that. So do you want to do the roll call, Tracy? We've only got a few more things to do anyway, so we might as well finish it off.
Councillor Rolls.
4.
Councillor Manor.
4.
Councillor Long.
4.
Councillor Treadwell.
4.
Councillor David Cool.
4.
Councillor Mrs. Cool.
4.
Councillor Gregory.
4.
Councillor Sangster.
4.
Councillor Ecclestone,
Or
Councillor Hughes,
Or
Councillor Asamoah.
Or
Okay, cool. Right. So, anyone else got a report? Nope. Did you want to say anything about the grants, Nicholas?
no, I'll wait for the meeting tomorrow and I'll probably go through it all properly.
Okay, cool. No worries. I'm just going to say that I've had a number of residents again complaining about the cost of their parking permits. Obviously, there's quite a lot of permit parking in Winton Ward. As some of you know, it's taken over by the county council, and the new fees have gone up quite dramatically. So I will be continuing to highlight that and try and solve the problem. Maybe it's something the town council could do. Who knows? Anyway, right. So if there's no one else, attendance at council meetings, item 25, to note the attendance record attached appendix M. And item 26, the date of the next meeting. The date of the next full council meeting will be the 26th of January 2021 at 6 p.m. via Zoom. And don't forget, next week we are hoping to organise an EGM. Tracy, was that the 15th, wasn't it?
Yeah, Tuesday.
So Tuesday the 15th. So you might want to make a note of that as well. Thank you all for coming, and you know, good night and good luck. The meeting's now closed at 20:33. Thank you very much. See you all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Tracy,
Yeah.
can me and Barbara have a quick chat with you after everyone's left, please? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Just very quick question.
Richard, could I just say something?
Yeah, sure.
Christiana Ireland has been waiting from Unity to speak. I did send a message.
Iris.
Or did answer me back.
I've got that message and I will pass it on to councillors, Iris.
Okay, thank you ever so much.
That's quite okay.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Cheers, Iris. Take care.